it's Miriam with Engadget, and I'm here with Paul Aldegheri of Ford, who's going to walk us through some of the C-MAX's features.
So we've got the smart gauge. We're calling it the next generation of smart gauge, and it's the driving information that we're using to help coach you to get the best fuel economy that you can get. So what's on screen right now is on the left side here is our Empower screen. It's using the same nomenclature from the original smart gauge, and so this is Empower. The engine is off right now. We're not driving, so you don't see any fills in there, but this is the screen that would have our signature engine pull-up threshold, which basically is if the fill on that gauge is below the threshold, that means that the engine hasn't pulled up yet. You'll see the gauges are blue. We've got these kind of color rules that blue is our color for electricity, white is the color for gasoline, and as long as your power demand is less than that threshold, then the engine is going to stay off.
And so the idea is that you stay in as much as possible in full electric mode, correct?
Right. And it's more important when you're in the sustain phase or the hybrid mode of the battery. When you're in the depletion phase or the plug-in power of the battery, then the threshold is really quite high and the engine is not going to pull up very often at all. But we kind of have these color rules in there so that it's glanceable. You look down, you see if the gauges are blue, the engine's off. If the gauges are white, the engine is on.
So can you give us some scenarios about, like, obviously to try to optimize that? I mean, you're plugging in your car every night, you're driving your up to 21 miles of range every day to commute somewhere. How do you avoid the gasoline engine kicking in? Is there, I mean, obviously you can drive up to 85 miles an hour, that's a huge deal. But can you tell us maybe some other strategies? I mean, does it kick in if you really stomp on the accelerator, for example?
So yeah, if you're, there's three modes to the vehicle. There's EV Auto, which is the default strategy, and it's going to try to use that plug-in power as quickly as possible. And so it really wants you to be in EV mode only, right? And so the engine will be off unless you're going up a steep grade or you're standing on the accelerator at a pretty extreme power demand. But yeah, I mean, the engine is going to be off for most of that trip. If you want to lock out the engine completely, there is a button down here on the center stack. It's called our EV mode button. And what that allows you to do is toggle through the different modes. So EV Auto, as I mentioned, if we press the button and you'll see here, goes into EV. Now you can see the fuel gauge has been knocked back. In this mode, the engine will not pull up. It's going to run as a pure EV until those 13 miles are depleted, and then it'll transition to hybrid-only operation.
So it's completely seamless, though, obviously. Right?
Yeah. If we press that button again, you'll see it goes into EV later. And the example that we talk about is, let's say you're making a trip, 200-mile trip, let's say, to a nice urban center. On the highway, if it was an EV Auto, those 13 miles of here in this example, those 13 miles of plug-in power are going to be consumed on the highway, driving at highway speeds. It's perhaps not the most enjoyable way to drive electric, because it's going to be a relatively short period of time because you're driving at such a high rate of speed.
Yeah. So tell us a little more. Obviously, differences between this plug-in hybrid and the hybrid C-MAX. The battery pack's very different, right? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, in a nutshell, and I'm not the tech guy in terms of the battery tech guy, but it's a bigger battery. And the way I like to describe it is the hybrid battery is a certain size, and it's charged by the use of the gas engine. The difference in size between the hybrid C-MAX and the C-MAX Energi is that extra size of the battery is fillable only by plugging into the wall.
Again, thanks so much, Paul, for your walkthrough of the UI.
Thank you.
Cheers.